can still see you. That's like when you're pastoring, right? You can see everybody that comes and goes and what time. And
just don't call me out. Run here.
Good morning and happy Sabbath.
Good morning.
A little bit rainy and windy out there this morning, but luckily the severity of it quit before we had to come to Sabbath School this morning, so that is a blessing in itself. Let's go ahead and pray this morning as we get ready for our lesson. Dear Father in heaven, this morning we just thank you for safety during the night through the storm, and Lord, we thank you for being with us through the storm of life. And as we look today at the children of Israel and the 430 years of the storm of slavery that they experienced, we're going to see today that you led them out. You had a plan for their lives no matter how long it took, and you have a plan for our lives no matter how long it takes. And so, Lord, as much as we would want to see you come while each one of us sitting here is still alive, we trust you. We understand that you are a good God and you will come at the right time for everybody's goodness. Lord, please send your Holy Spirit to be with us this morning as we study the lesson for this week. And we thank you and we love you. Amen.
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 Through the Red Sea. So, we are done with the plagues, and we know that the last plague was apparently the most devastating for Pharaoh, because he says no, 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 and now he loses his firstborn son, and he's ready. Something that I thought of this week that never occurred to me before. Pharaoh must not have been, he must have had an older brother, or he would have died that night. Assumably, right? And it's interesting to me as I thought about that, like, what if Pharaoh would have died in the night, then the children of Israel wouldn't have had to wait on anything. They could have just left, theoretically, right? I don't know. Kind of a sidebar, but it's just something that occurred to me that I've never thought of before, is that Pharaoh must have had an older brother. Okay, so our memory text this morning is Exodus 14, 13, and 14. And it says, "And Moses said to the people, 'Do not be afraid. Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord, which he will accomplish for you today. For the Egyptians whom you see today, you shall see again no more forever. The Lord will fight for you, and you shall hold your peace.'" We don't know exactly what that was like and how they felt. Now, can you imagine? Just think of the people on this earth that you have not got along with, here or there, right? Hopefully none of you have had an actual, enemy. But just think if you had an enemy and God says to you, or Moses, God's servant says to you, and this is it, you're not going to have to deal with these people ever again. We're going to experience that someday, right? When we go to heaven, there's not going to be arguments and conflicts and that kind of thing. But these people had been in slavery for generations. They were the people that are leaving Egypt were born into slavery. They never knew any other life. And, you you hear of convicts who, were imprisoned at, maybe in their early 20s, and they get released 50 years later, and some of them do not cope well. They commit suicide. They don't know how to live life.
It's a new world.
Yeah, they don't know how to live life not in
Prison.
a captive environment, right? And so these people are, I guess I don't know if they were chained in some instances or what, but all of a sudden they have all this freedom, right? And so they're in fear of that freedom being taken away here, right, as we look at them crossing the Red Sea. But the lesson doesn't start exactly right there. That was just our memory text, okay? So let's turn this morning to Exodus 12. Our lesson starts still in Exodus 12. We'll move to 13, chapter 13, but let's start in chapter 12. And if I could get somebody to read verses 31 to 33.
During the night, Pharaoh summoned Moses and Aaron and said, "Up, leave my people. Leave my people. You and the Israelites, go worship the Lord as you have requested. Take your flocks and herds as you have said, and go, and also bless me." Did I read the right one?
Yep, you did. Okay, so prior to this, Moses gives the instructions on what the people are supposed to do, the instructions from God. Right? They're supposed to pick a spotless lamb. They're supposed to slaughter it. They're supposed to put blood on the door frame. They're supposed to cook it and eat it in a certain way. They're supposed to do several different things. What time of day would they have done that? In the evening, presumably dinner time or whatever. I mean, it's kind of funny when I talk about eating dinner at 5 o'clock or whatever at work. Everybody at work, most people at work are younger than me, and they all like, "You're so old," because they eat dinner at like 7:30. And to me, I'm like, that's too close to bedtime. But so evening. So the angel of death, God comes through Egypt with the angel of death at night, right? Presumably at night. And so Pam, what's the very first thing you read? When does Pharaoh...
During the night, he summoned Moses and Aaron and said...
Right, so during the night, Pharaoh summons Moses and Aaron. We don't know at what point in the night. We know that the Israelites got ready. Maybe some of them went to sleep. Maybe some of them didn't go to sleep. And sometime in the evening or night is when the firstborn die. Pharaoh is so overwhelmed at this point, he doesn't wait until morning. He comes during the night, or he summons for Moses and Aaron during the night, and he says, "Go, take your people, take your flocks, and get out of here."
And it says, "And also bless me," my Bible says.
Yeah, and bless me.
Yeah.
Right? Does that seem like an odd statement?
Yeah.
At the end of all that's happened, not just what happened that night, but everything leading up to that, and then he says, "Okay, get out of here and bless me." What is that about?
He's a little nervous.
Okay? He's nervous about what?
Himself.
Something more might happen.
Something more might happen,
Yeah.
right? If he,
Better cool it.
there's consequences for the bad decisions that I've made, so I'm going to let these people go, but maybe there's more consequences coming, right? So he says, "Bless me." in a sense, he's acknowledging the God of Israel, kind of like he sort of has a couple of times before this. But this is, I see this, his statement here, as kind of that foxhole Christian mentality, right? When the soldier who has denied God his whole life is in the foxhole and there's gunfire going over his head and he has no other choice, he's like, God, please save me. And when you hear the stories of that, it's and in return I'll promise to do this, or I'll live my life this way, or whatever. And I just feel like for Pharaoh, he doesn't know what else to do besides to say, bless me, right? Because he's fearful for himself. So it's not out of a true respect for God. It's out of desperation, okay? Something also interesting in this verse, when it says Pharaoh came in the night. What happened prior that correlates with Pharaoh summoning Aaron and Moses in the night?
That's why it was up in the night.
Let's think about what we talked about last week with the directions that the children of Israel were given. What directions were they given? What were they supposed to do?
Oh, they're supposed to be dressed and ready to go.
Supposed to be dressed. They're supposed to have their sandals on, their cloaks on, right? It was be prepared to leave at a moment's notice, right? The part of that we talked about, that there was symbolism, but part of the bread, part of the lamb, the way they cooked the lamb, all those things were, we need to be able to be ready to move fast, right? God knew what he was doing. God knew that he was going to take the lives of the firstborn sometime in that evening night, and that Pharaoh wasn't going to wait until the next day and give these million or so people, we speculate on how many total there were, but to give them time to get ready, right? God knew that Pharaoh was going to experience this event and say, get out. And God didn't want Pharaoh to have time to change his mind again. When he says go, then go. You don't have time to be dilly-dallying around. Karina this morning, Janice and I are in the car already. And here comes Karina walking out of the house. In her nice white dress. She's got on dirty white Crocs. I said, I opened my window. I said, where's your church shoes? She goes, oh my goodness. She had to go back in the house, go find her church shoes and put them on. She wasn't ready to go. She wasn't prepared from the night before. She didn't put her church shoes by the door like normal. So they needed to be ready. Okay, let's read, Mom, if you'll read verses 34 to 39.
So the people took their dough before it was leavened, having their kneading bowls bound up in their clothes on their shoulders. Now the children of Israel had done according to the word of Moses, and they had asked from the Egyptians articles of silver, articles of gold, and clothing. And the Lord had given the people favor in the sight of the Egyptians, so that they granted them what they requested. Thus they plundered the Egyptians.
39.
Then the children of Israel journeyed from Ramses to Succoth, about 600,000 men on foot, besides children. A mixed multitude went up with them also, and flocks and herds, a great deal of livestock. And they baked unleavened cakes of the dough which they had brought out of Egypt, for it was not leavened, because they were driven out of Egypt, and could not wait, nor had they prepared provisions for themselves.
Okay, so they gather up this bread that hasn't risen, they take it with them. There's 600,000 men. If you let's just say that, I should have looked this up because I I don't remember. I've looked it up in the past, but I think that they only counted males in that 600,000. I think it would have been 12 and over. Okay? Don't think that they counted under 12. And I don't know what the average age of marriage was back then, but let's just say that a third of those 600,000 counted men, which is probably a low number, but let's just say that a third of them had a wife. That would be another 200,000. Now we're up to 800,000. And let's just say that of those 200,000, they each only had one child under the age of 12. That's another 200,000. So there's 1 million people. Probably pretty safe to assume that it was over 1 million people. There's some estimates that say 2 million people. So somewhere between 1 million and 2 million people. That's more people than live in our entire city. And they all got to move all at the same time.
And they've got to have all that bread.
Huh?
And they've got to have all the unleavened bread. I mean, they have.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, we don't know exactly what it looked like, but they were slaves. And I'm thinking, did they have wagons? Did the Egyptians give them wagons to haul stuff? Are they carrying all this stuff? I don't know. I don't know what it looked like. I just know that they probably didn't take a whole lot with them, because you're going to be limited on what you can take. But 1 million plus people, I mean, it's going to take 20 minutes for when I'm up here at the front and I give some kind of report for it to get back to the last group, right? I mean, I've never seen more than about 100,000 people in one place all at a time, and that is a big crowd. If you think about, if you've ever watched a sporting event and you know, they do the wave, right? They're sitting down in their seat and they stand up and go like this, and then the next people, and it goes around the stadium, right? And it takes a minute just for that to get around. So verses 34 to 39, they gather whatever they can. Specifically, it says that they took the bread with them, and they journeyed a certain amount of distance. They stopped. They baked the bread to eat. They're now free. How comfortable do you think they are?
He really was not sold
Huh?
on the idea that
Because of
Jesus Christ
what?
was the heavenly God that was going to actually
How fast they had to move, and they didn't have anything with them. Very uncomfortable. I mean,
He was counting all them people, everything, you know, they had poultry, cows, had all other besides just that bread, didn't they?
Yeah.
That took acres.
What,
Except on places, right?
to this day, around the area that they were is, you know, you can plant crops, you can live a normal, I mean, there's water, you know, fresh water close by and everything. But when you leave the area that they were at, even to this day, you're wandering out into the wilderness to a certain extent, right? They got all these people, they got all this livestock, and they're looking around going, I don't see any corn growing, I don't see any wheat growing, and I don't see a lot of lakes and rivers for us to be able to gather water, right? The mothers in particular were probably thinking, how do I take care of my children? You know? I don't know. We didn't live through it, but...
how are we going to survive? Wouldn't you start
Yeah.
doubting?
I mean, I'm sure that there was a sense of relief, but I gotta think that they were nervous. Okay? Okay. Let's move to, and this is where, if I don't necessarily follow the quarterly really, but we're going to move into Monday's lesson in the quarterly. So let's turn to chapter 13 now of Exodus. We're going to read the first 10 verses to start with. This is what I'm going to call step 1. Step 1 of their freedom, verses 1 to 10. Go ahead, Mom.
Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Consecrate to me all the firstborn, whatever opens the womb among the children of Israel, both of man and beast, it is mine. And Moses said to the people, Remember this day in which you went out of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. For by strength of hand the Lord brought you out of this place. No leavened bread shall be eaten. On this day you are going out, in the month Abib. And it shall be when the Lord brings you into the land of the Canaanites, and the Hittites, and the Amorites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites, which he swore to your fathers to give you, a land flowing with milk and honey, that you shall keep this service in this month. 7 days you shall eat unleavened bread, and on the 7th day there shall be a feast to the Lord. Unleavened bread shall be eaten 7 days, and no leavened bread shall be seen among you, nor shall leaven be seen among you in all your quarters. And you shall tell your son in that day, saying, This is done because of what the Lord did for me when I came up from Egypt. It shall be as a sign to you on your hand and as a memorial between your eyes, that the Lord's law may be in your mouth. For with a strong hand the Lord has brought you out of Egypt. You shall therefore keep this ordinance in its season from year to year.
Why do we have 10 verses about eating bread? I mean, is that excessive? It seems like a lot about eating bread.
Well, it's the staff of life.
We got to eat. That is definitely a fact of life.
To remember.
Now remember.
Okay. Why? What? I mean, what is significant here, though, that would cause them to remember?
It's all looking forward to the event that's going to take place, which is their deliverance.
Okay. How often do you eat unleavened bread?
Once a quarter.
And only at church, right? Unless you happen to be making the communion bread and you taste it to make sure, okay, I can actually take this to church and serve it, right?
You can buy some matzo crackers too.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, you could probably refer to wheat thins or whatever as unleavened bread, I suppose. But that's not how they ate bread. They let bread rise and they ate it as a loaf, and it was fluffy and soft and whatever. So specifically giving them instructions to have 7 days where they can't eat leavened bread, it's going to be, it's going to call it. This is talking about, tell your children, right? Because the children are going to be like, Mom, what did you do to the bread today? Why is the bread's been great, for a while, and all of a sudden today our bread is flat and crunchy or chewy, maybe even. What? It's going to cause the children to ask questions. The parents are then basically forced to answer the questions for the children, and everybody just is automatically going to remember the deliverance, which also points forward to a deliverance as well. Again, God has all this planned out. He knows how our brains work. He knows how our emotions work, and he's putting things into place not just because he wants a set of rules for people to have to follow. It's so that it gives these people an opportunity to emotionally reattach to God if they've pulled away a little bit.
We do know the example of July 4th. What can we do with July 4th? We do the firefight, right? Mm-hmm. In Thanksgiving, we're supposed to kill the turkey. In possible to kill dog within that day. People can surprise. How would you do it? Because they're supposed to be follow what they set up. God set up the appointment like don't eat the unleavened bread. Use such kind of like training, like the teaching, different teaching. Like when they were in Egypt, they had been dominated to be follow the Egyptian gods. God said, no. I have my own order to give you before. That's why.
Yep. Okay, let's move to what I wrote down in my notes as step 2. So step 1 of their freedom was, here's how you eat bread, right? Step 2, verse 13. I'm just going to read verse 13 so we can read that. Chapter 13, verse 13.
Verse 13, but every firstborn of a donkey you shall redeem with a lamb. And if you will not redeem it, then you shall break its neck. And all the firstborn of man among your sons you shall redeem.
This is probably the hardest verse in this week's lesson. At least for some people. So we're going to continue reading after verse 13, but I wanted to read just verse 13 and isolate it and talk about it for a little bit. So first off, what does it mean to redeem something? Buy back. Okay? So if we read it with those words in mind, right? In my version, a firstborn donkey may be bought back, it actually says that in the New Living Translation, from the Lord, representing a lamb or young goat in its place.
They don't give you much help in my Bible in the notes underneath. We sometimes skip over those areas that are a little difficult.
Yeah, I don't want to deal with that. I'm just gonna forget about it. Did we read? Did I jump ahead? Did we read 11 through?
No.
We didn't read 11. I'm sorry.
You want 11?
Yeah, let's back up. Let's read 11 and go ahead and read 13 again when you get there. 11 through 13.
Okay. And it shall be when the Lord brings you into the land of the Canaanites, as he swore to you and your fathers, and gives it to you, that you shall set apart to the Lord all that opens the womb, that is, every firstborn that comes from an animal which you have, the males shall be the Lord's. But every firstborn of a donkey you shall redeem with a lamb, and if you will not redeem it, then you shall break its neck, and all the firstborn of man among your sons you shall redeem.
Okay. Sorry about that. Got a little ahead of myself with my question. So step 2. Step 1 is here's how you eat bread. Step 2 is all the firstborns belong to me. All the animals, all the children, all the male children. But then it gives this weird instruction that says, but the donkey, if you don't buy it back, you got to break its neck. Okay? So let's talk through that a little bit. First off, it was the firstborn that were killed, right? And that is God. God had the right to do that because God owns everything, including us. He created us. And so as a memorial to the fact that the Israelites had an opportunity to obey God in an act of the blood on the doors, their firstborns were redeemed in that way. The action of them putting the blood on the doorposts was them buying back that life from God.
And the lamb had to be killed to
And
redeem.
Right. And the process of that happening was a sacrifice. Okay, again, all this pointing to what Jesus would do a long, long time from now, 1,500 years later, if I'm not mistaken. So we get to verse 13, and we know that redeemed means bought back.
The Israelites were given, what they were.
What animals, as we look forward and the sanctuary gets set up and they're supposed to, continually do sacrifices for different things, what animals were to be sacrificed? Any animal you wanted? Clean animals, right? And even when the Passover, it was take the 1 year old spotless male lamb, right? The epitome of an animal, the peak in innocence and health and everything else of an animal at its prime. Okay, so the reason that when we look at these verses that it talks about the donkey is because that is in reference to an unclean animal. And so donkey is going to be an unclean animal. So if the donkey is the firstborn male, it also belongs to God and it's consecrated to God. But what did they use donkeys for? Work. Donkey was something that was valuable to them. Okay? So God was giving them the opportunity. The donkey couldn't be sacrificed, right? But God was giving them the opportunity to redeem the donkey back. I want to buy this donkey back at the price of a sacrifice. But if I don't do that, what happens to the donkey? Right? If I consecrate it to the Lord, and then I use it to plow my field or to haul my sacks of flour or grain or whatever, I haven't given it to the Lord. I'm selfishly using it for myself. So the instructions here are the firstborn, clean or unclean, it belongs to God. And you have to sacrifice something else to get the value of that donkey back. And if you don't do that, it doesn't really say if you're not willing or whatever, it just says if you don't, then you got to kill the donkey. Because you can't use the donkey for your own good because it's been consecrated to the Lord by default.
Yeah,
like
what,
being the
what
first
sign
donkey.
came out that we should not be all that like camel or dog or fish? Why don't we? What kind of idea do we don't think that God cannot use the others?
I don't know, because I use a pickup truck if I need to. I mean, I don't. I mean,
horse, yeah.
We can look back and say, okay, they had to use camels, and but yeah, I mean, to really understand it, we'd have had to live in that time frame.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Because God can choose the donkey. The donkey was talking to the person, Balak.
Yeah.
The donkey was talking to. The donkey of father of Saul was lost. When Saul was looking for a donkey, they was lost. They will find back. The donkey has been raised with Jesus Christ. The donkey has a job. The donkey is what?
Yeah, I mean that. Yeah, like you said, that same donkey Jesus rode into Jerusalem on a donkey. It's not like it was bad, just not a clean animal.
Seems like God was just saying, respect this sign that I'm giving to you. This sign is the firstborn.
Right.
The firstborn has a lot of meaning in it, and I want you to take it very seriously. Don't just say, well, I can use this animal because this is a good work animal. No, you respect the sign that I give you and live according to it.
Was it last week or 2 weeks ago that I brought up, Cain and his sacrifice, right? And he's, I'm just going to give what I want to give because it's convenient for me. He wasn't respecting what God's request was, right? So step one, eat in a certain way for a certain length of time, and step two is about we're looking at now the sacrifices and the way that God has redeemed and will redeem, right? For God so loved the world that He gave what? His only begotten Son, which would mean His first. Okay. Let's see.
And also, God is one has to learn how to give something away. How to give something away. Some people, they look like cat. They don't give away anything.
Yeah.
God teaches us how to give something, how to give away something.
Yeah, some of you weren't here at the beginning when we were talking about the numbers, so I'm going to go through it real quick again. So the Bible identifies 600,000 men, and Pastor Austin actually might know this. I said I looked this up before, but I didn't look it up just this week. But when they counted men, it was 12 and over. Does that sound right to you, possibly?
Yeah, I
think it was 12 and over.
Because a boy was seen as a man when he reached the age of 12.
Right. Okay. I mean, that's why Jewish people have bar mitzvahs and whatever else. Okay. So 600,000 theoretically 12 and over men. So I don't know what the average age was for marriage, but let's just conservatively say that a third of them were married. So now, we have at least 200,000 women. We're up to 800,000. And if those 200,000 couples each had one kid, that's another 200,000. We're already at 1 million people. So this is 1 million plus people with their livestock, with the gold that they've taken from the Egyptians and whatever else.
Those who have been numbered never get married. Those who have been numbered to go to war, they never get married.
Yeah. But how many firstborns are we talking here? Right? I mean, this is established right now, but with a I should have looked up this statistic. I didn't think of it until just right now. It popped into my head. I wonder how many babies are born in Omaha in a day. The Omaha, I said it's more people than Omaha, but the Omaha area, including Council Bluffs, Papillion, whatever, that's about 1 million people. So they have arguably more people than within a reasonable driving distance of where we're sitting in this church. How many children are born in this area in a day? I'm guessing it would be a surprisingly high number, like
50?
Yeah, I mean,
Maybe, I don't know.
20, 30, 40, 50, I mean, it's right? Now, some of those were girls and whatever else, but we're talking that immediately, this is a significant rule that they've got to follow. Like, it impacted their lives like that, right? And they didn't have pregnancy tests, right, to determine early pregnancy, but also not to determine if it was a male or female, right? So any woman that's pregnant at that time, when she hears this, is thinking, is this a boy or a girl? Because this is my first, right? And there's a lot of things happening in this large of a group of people, okay?
Yeah.
All right.
That is the example of Jacob. Jacob had 13 kids, but the girl, they never counted.
Yeah.
The numbers. Yeah, that's right.
In the middle-ish, bottom third part of Monday's lesson. One principle behind this injunction is that everything belongs to Him, meaning God, because He is our Creator and the owner of everything. The earth is the Lord's and everything in it, the world and all who live in it. Psalm 24:1. The silver is mine and the gold is mine, declares the Lord of hosts. Haggai 2:8. The Israelites' firstborn sons were the first fruits of God's blessings, almost like a tithe, which He had bestowed upon them. They were also a sign of their total consecration to Him and their understanding that all they possessed came only from Him. Also, we see the idea of redemption, of salvation here. The firstborn sons were spared death because they were covered by the blood. They were redeemed from death, as are all who are under the blood of Jesus. As Paul writes about Jesus, in whom we have redemption through His blood, the forgiveness of sins. Colossians 1:14. You may or may not be, well, some of you for sure, at least 2 of you are not, firstborn male children. Okay? I am. It's not just the firstborn that are redeemed at this point, right? This act was a remembrance of the deliverance from Egypt, but this act only applied to the firstborn males. But in the symbolism, it pointed forward to something that's even bigger and more important, and that is that each of us is a child of God, and He thinks of each of us as his one and only firstborn child, male or female, and he's willing to buy us back from sin, and he did that with the blood of Jesus Christ. Okay, 20 minutes left, and we are at crossing the Red Sea on Tuesday, which through the Red Sea was the name of this week, but it took us a couple of days to get there. Okay, so we are going to stay in chapter 13, and the lesson has you read chapter 13, verse 17 to chapter 14, verse 12. We're going to break it down into several sections and talk about it. So if somebody could read first off just verses 17 and 18. Chapter 13, verses 17 and 18.
When Pharaoh let the people go, God did not lead them on the road through the Philistine country, though that was shorter. For God said if they face war, they might change their minds and return to Egypt. So God led the people around by the desert road toward the Red Sea, and the Israelites went up and out of Egypt, ready for battle.
So they're free, okay? If they're going straight to the promised land in a straight line, the shortest distance, the best way to go, they're going to have to face, who do we know that's famous in the Bible, great, big, and strong, right? Goliath. The Philistines, right? Hasn't happened yet, but when we move forward here, at a point, we're going to see that some spies are sent into the land, and they come back and say, everything is huge, the fruit is huge, the people are huge, right? They're giants, right? That's after God has led them through the wilderness. So here, God just now has delivered them. This deliverance is new to them, and God's already looking out for them in the way that he leads them toward the promised land. They haven't been condemned to wander the wilderness for 40 years yet. They're just supposed to be going to the promised land from slavery, from Egypt. Okay? But God doesn't take them in a straight line, because as slaves who've been literally beaten down, right? They probably don't have a ton of confidence, and they're not soldiers. And some of them probably have been malnutritioned, or suffering from malnutrition, whatever, as slaves, I would think. Although my idea of slavery maybe doesn't mean exactly what happened back then. So God takes them in a little bit of a roundabout way so they don't have to immediately face conflict in a battle, right? God's looking out for them right from the get-go. Okay, we're going to drop to verse 20. If somebody could read 20, 21, and 22.
So they took their journey from Succoth and camped in Etham at the edge of the wilderness. And the Lord went before them by day in a pillar of cloud to lead the way, and by night in a pillar of fire to give them light, so as to go by day and night. He did not take away the pillar of cloud by day or the pillar of fire by night from before the people.
So not only is he sending them in a way that is more comfortable to them, he's traveling with them. He's giving them something to look at, to follow, to I remember as a kid, for whatever reason, I guess maybe before I was old enough, my mom maybe, was the one looking at the atlas, but once I got old enough, I loved it. That was my job. Mom didn't tell Dad where to go and look at, I remember looking at the little dots, which were exits on the interstate, and it's okay. He's like, well, we're getting low on fuel, well, it's 13 more miles to the next exit, is there fuel at the next exit or not? And now, I can get in the car and I can plug into my GPS and it's going to tell me where to go. I can tell it that I want to stop for fuel, and it's going to tell me what fuel options I have. You can more confidently travel across the country in a car today than you ever could before. Before, it was questionable. I got to plan this out a little more carefully, okay? So it was a little more nerve-wracking. God is trying to make this as least troublesome and nerve-wracking as he can, and he's like, okay, I'm going to be your GPS. I'm going to be this pillar of cloud and fire, and even to the point where in the desert at night, it's not going to be pitch black where you can't see your hand in front of your face. I'm going to be with you all the time.
That's
Okay.
the sign, Michael. When Jesus came to the he had a sign to be healed those who are troubled by disease. So many miracles have been seen. That's why the sign of human beings, they satisfy with their lives. They don't like fear.
Prior to this,
That's right.
and to this day, God is always trying to say, I'm here with you.
That's
I'm
right.
giving you all this evidence, right? Okay, let's move to chapter 14, and we're going to read verses 1 to 4.
They was finding bones now from way back. Somebody get preserved.
Somebody.
Now the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the children of Israel that they turn and camp before Pi-hahiroth, between Migdol and the sea, opposite Baal-Zephon. You shall camp before it by the sea. For Pharaoh will say of the children of Israel, They are bewildered by the land. The wilderness has closed them in. Then I will harden Pharaoh's heart, so that he will pursue them. And I will gain honor over Pharaoh and over all his army, that the Egyptians may know that I am the Lord. And they did so.
Okay, I know you probably can't see this real great, but I did a couple of print-offs. So, I thought I have a pen to point. Do we have a pen I can borrow? So I can point a little bit? Thank you. Okay, so, this is the Red Sea right here, okay? Connects to the Indian Ocean. This is up here, this little dot that you may or may not be able to see. This is where Goshen was. This is where the children of Israel were slaves, okay? Where they're trying to go, this is modern day Israel. This is the promised land over here. So this is the way that they would have or could have went, right? Kind of a straight line here, west to east, okay? But remember, they're not going in a straight line, okay? So, what's happening here, this is our two little fingers at the top of the Red Sea, right? This is our two little fingers at the top of the Red Sea. So, they're coming from over here, which is going to be over here further, but I didn't want to draw on my shirt, so I drew on the paper. So they're coming from over here. They're not going straight across over here, okay? Reading, they probably went something like this. There's a mountain range right here. That's what these little squiggly lines are. There's a mountain range. So they've come down. I don't know what the plan would have been, but they're down this way, or maybe they came this way. Maybe they did come across here, but they're told to backtrack. Okay? Well, when they backtrack, it puts them right here where this dot is. They're camped up against the shore of the Red Sea. They've got mountains on one side. They've got desert this way. And what we're about to find out is that the Egyptians have decided to follow them. So they're kind of trapped. And so this verse where it says, specifically says that God tells them to reverse direction and then camp, it's going to look like they're confused. It's going to look like they don't know where to go. They're going in the wrong direction, and Pharaoh is going to get word of that. Now, Pharaoh's not out following them yet, but somebody apparently is following them, watching them, or they're up on those mountains looking down, watching. It's not hard to spot 1 million plus people plus animals moving through the land, right? I mean, they're probably you can sit back here and just, you don't have to see the people, just watch the dust cloud, and you're going to know kind of where they're at, okay? So, the Israelites camped where they were told. Okay, now let's move to verses 5 through 9.
Michael?
Yes.
There was one time when I was taking a Bible answer trip that I went right by the Red Sea, and I believe it was very close to the area that you pinpointed there. And you look out across the sea, and it looks like an ocean. It doesn't look like just a lake.
Yeah.
You know, it really.
I'm going to get to that in a second when we get a couple more verses down. But yes, it's kind of like I've never been to the Great Lakes, right? But people go to the Great Lakes and they're like, this is not a lake. I can't see a lake. I can see the other side. So this is not a lake. This is, we're going to talk about that in a second. So verses 5 through 9.
Get this. Does this come through? And so if God will save these.
Everybody's trying to be polite. Pam, do you have it?
No, go ahead.
No? Okay, Mom.
Now it was told the king of Egypt that the people had fled, and the heart of Pharaoh and his servants was turned against the people, and they said, why have we done this, that we have let Israel go from serving us? So he made ready his chariot, and took his people with him. Also he took 600 choice chariots, and all the chariots of Egypt with captains over every one of them. 1 through 9?
Yeah, through 9.
And the Lord hardened the heart of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and he pursued the children of Israel. And the children of Israel went out with boldness. So the Egyptians pursued them, all the horses and chariots of Pharaoh, his horsemen and his army, and overtook them camping by the sea, beside Pihahiroth, before Baal-zephon.
Okay, 600 chariots to me didn't sound like a whole lot, but it also says the rest of the chariots. I don't know what the number was, but it was a significant army, right? It's not 1 million plus people, most likely, soldiers. You don't need 1 million plus soldiers when you're facing women and children and slaves that haven't been trained for battle, right? These Egyptian soldiers, they know how to swing a sword, they know how to use catapults or whatever they, bows and arrows, they were trained. The Israelites were not trained. This is plenty of people chasing down the Israelites. Okay, let's move on, verses 10 to 12. If you just want to keep reading, Mom.
And when Pharaoh drew near, the children of Israel lifted their eyes, and behold, the Egyptians marched after them. So they were very afraid, and the children of Israel cried out to the Lord. Then they said to Moses, because there were no graves in Egypt, have you taken us away to die in the wilderness? Why have you so dealt with us to bring us up out of Egypt? I never remember how far you say to go. Okay. Is this not the word that we told you in Egypt, saying, let us alone that we may serve the Egyptians? For it would have been better for us to serve the Egyptians than that we should die in the wilderness.
All right, Moses and Aaron come to the children of Israel. God is going to deliver you. They say, yes! And then the plagues start, and they say, no! What did you do? Our lives just got worse. We have to work harder. This is terrible. And then they get through to the Passover, and they have another promise. You're going to be delivered. And then Pharaoh says, go. And they say, yes! And they go. And they wander. They're not wandering yet, but they're traveling, and they're going where God tells them, where this pillar of cloud and fire takes them. And now they see the cloud of dust, right? And they know the Egyptian army is coming, and they look, and there's a massive sea in front of them, okay? Not a creek or Lake Manawa. It's a massive body of water in front of them. We can't go that way because it's mountains. The army's coming, like, they're upset again. Like, what is happening? Why did you bring us out here to die? They immediately look at their circumstances, their environment, and they lose trust in God. Do we not do the same thing sometimes? It's easy for us to have something happen in our lives, whether it's health or health of a family member or a friend, or the loss of a job, or whatever. It's easy for something to happen in our lives, and the devil wants us to lose trust in God. And sometimes we have to fight ourselves to continue to trust God. And we have to choose to lean on Him. Lean not on your own understanding, right? Sometimes it doesn't make sense to us, but we've got to trust.
Very real to them at that moment. And there is no human way that they can escape.
No, yeah,
Unless God does something.
yeah, I'm going to die or be put back into slavery, which they're kind of complaining, well, maybe we'd be better back in slavery, right? Maybe we should go wave the white flag and surrender. Oh my goodness. Go ahead,
Can I read a short quotation in Exodus 23, verse 20 to 21. Behold, I send any angel before you to keep you in the way and to bring you into the place where I have prepared. 21. Be aware of him and obey his voice. Do not provoke him, for he will not pardon you your transgression. For my name is in him. 22. But if indeed obey his voice and do all that I speak them, I will be enemy to your enemy and adversary to your adversary. You see, God tell the Israelites that is parable. The angel is not a way of leading them. The angel, God put him in the mouth of Moses. They didn't know that. Yeah.
Yeah? Let's look at our maps again. Okay, the Red Sea. This right here, this line that I have up here toward the top, which is still part of Egypt, that right there, that's 150 miles across. 147. Where I measured. 147 miles across. I mean, they didn't cross the Red Sea right there, so it would have taken them days, right, to go 150 miles, okay? So, we're up here. We're up here. They've come down here to what the information that I was able to gather and look at other people's research and whatever else. They're here. They're at the very, very top of the Suez finger here, okay? And probably in the pretty skinny part. It's 7 miles across there.
Oh,
right?
7
Well,
miles.
Pastor Austin's saying he was on a trip and he was roughly in this area and he can't see the other side. It's 7 miles away. You can't see the other side of the lake that's 7 miles across. Okay? They can't see, I wonder how deep this is. We'll just trudge through this and we'll go. Now, the other thing to note here, too, is that at least recent data, and it probably wouldn't have changed too drastically, but this from about here up, all of this is somewhere between 65 and 100 feet deep. We're not talking, put a little straw in my mouth so I can reach to the top of the water and walk. It's at least as deep as this church, and significantly deeper most likely than this, from the sanctuary floor to the ceiling. It's deep. What were you going to say?
It is true that over such a long period of time, and with the Suez Canal being a part of the changes that took place, that the water levels were a little different than they are. But still, I think you have to realize that this is an enormous challenge. This is not just a street. This is not just a creek or a river that's flowing through.
Yeah. If you have ever read about just like the Lewis and Clark expedition and, even trying to cross like the Missouri River, and they're looking for, a spot where it's not as deep and they got to cross at the right time of year when there's less water and whatever. I mean, because it only takes a few feet of water for you to be in trouble, right? So no matter how deep it was a problem. Okay? So
We are God's firstborn. In his mind,
There-
he wants to save us.
the next thing that happens is Moses says what?
Watch what God's going to do for you. Don't be afraid.
Don't be afraid. Are they afraid? Yes, they're afraid. So what does he say? Don't be afraid. There is a way out. You don't see the way out, but there is a way out. That is what God has been telling us for millennia. You might not see it, but there is a way out.
I think we have to give a pat on the back to Moses here, because at least it doesn't say anything about his shaky faith at that point, but he does what God's told him to do, and he even announces it to the people, and it's good to have faithful leadership that stands up and does the right thing. Wow.
Verse 16. Pick up your staff and raise your hand over the sea. Divide the water so the Israelites can walk through the middle of the sea on dry ground. It doesn't matter how deep it was. I believe it was significantly deep. But they walked through not even in the mud, on dry ground. And there was walls of water on either side of them. God delivered them. Whether it was 3 miles across, 7 miles across, 15 miles across, I don't know, and I really don't care. I just was interested in trying to find some facts. It was too deep and too far for them to go across, and the only way they were going to not be overtaken by the Egyptian army was for God to part those waters and allow them to walk through on dry ground. Right? He made a way. He has made a way for each one of us with the sacrifice of his firstborn son that redeems each one of us from the condemnation that we deserve.
The point that I always think of when I see this story is it's not far down the line. And, they're distrusting God for the least little issues that come up. Food and water, I understand, but just other things, they can't trust God. Here's the powerful God that opens the Red Sea, and what's going to happen to us? This isn't going right.
Yeah. All right, let's pray. Father in heaven, Lord, once again, we thank you for the Sabbath. We thank you for the Bible. We thank you that the Bible is so interesting if we just get in and study it, and when we at the same time can see your greatness and your goodness. And Lord, we thank you for your greatness and your goodness. We thank you that as awesome as you are, that you care about each one of us and you care about redeeming each one of us. Please be with us the rest of our Sabbath day. Amen.
Amen.
Oh my goodness. As soon as you were saying it, I saw it and I